The Minnesota Twins are officially making their push in the American League Central. By winning 5 out of 7, despite missing 2 of their best players, the Twins moved within 2 games of the Cleveland Guardians for the division lead with 6 weeks to go. Now, the race is really on. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Twins Daily Week in Review podcast. My name is Nick Nelson, bringing you everything you need to know about the past 7 days of Twins baseball in about 20 minutes, as we do every Sunday evening. You can also find this content on twinsdaily.com as a written article where you can dig in a little bit deeper and share your thoughts in the comments section, so we welcome you to do so. But let's get to it because we got plenty to cover here from the past week for the Twins with your weekly snapshot for Monday, August 12th through Sunday, August 18th. Twins went 5-2 in their 7 games last week, moving their overall record to 70-54. They are 16 games above 500. Their run differential over the past week, plus 16, moving their overall mark for the season to plus 70. And the Twins were able to shave some serious space, some margin off of that lead for Cleveland in the AL Central. They are now 2 games behind, as I mentioned, in second place, although the Kansas City Royals continue to be nipping at their heels right behind them, just a game behind in third place. Let's take a look at the game-by-game results for the past week here real quickly. Twins opened the week on Monday at home against the Royals with an 8-3 victory. Early home runs from Willie Castro and Royce Lewis building a big lead that they were able to hold down in that game. On Tuesday, the Twins won 13-3 in a blowout, routing the Royals in Zebby Matthews' MLB debut. Plenty of run support for the rookie there. On Wednesday, the Twins, unable to complete the sweep over Kansas City, lost 4-1 as the bats go silent against all-star Cole Ragans. Twins headed to Texas for a 4-game series on Thursday, where they opened up with a 3-2 victory behind Bailey Ober, who pitched well once again to take down the Rangers in that opener at Texas. On Friday, the Twins won 4-3, another one-run victory. Carlos Santana's key 3-run homer, turning the tides in that game. And on Saturday, the Twins won 5-2 to clinch the series. Another strong day for the pitching with David Festa getting the start and pitching well in that one. On Sunday, the Twins, unfortunately unable to close down the sweep once again, had a 4-run lead in this one, but a nightmare 7th inning from Jorge Alcala cost them the win and the sweep in Texas. Still a 5-2 week, though, including a 3-1 series victory on the road against the defending champions. Hard to complain about that, despite sort of the sour taste that Sunday's game leaves. Let's take a look at the news and notes on the roster from the past 7 days to get caught up on injuries and the like. After homering twice the previous day against Cleveland, Byron Buxton exited Monday's series opener against Kansas City following his 3rd at-bat, complaining of hip soreness. An ensuing MRI thankfully revealed no structural damage for Buxton, but that pain persisted for several days, and he still was not game ready when the Twins embarked on their road trip to Texas, necessitating an IL move. Edouard Julien returned to the big league roster in Buxton's stead. This injury is officially being deemed inflammation, but I would not assume necessarily that he will be back after the minimum 10 days. This hip has been problematic for Buxton in the past, of course. As with Carlos Correa, who himself remains sidelined with no clear return date in sight, the Twins need to make sure this thing heals as well as it can. They cannot afford to push Buxton back into action too quickly, even though being without your star shortstop and center fielder is obviously a major blow in the short term. As expected, Zebby Matthews was called up from AAA to make his major league debut on Tuesday against the Royals, picking up a win in that game. Scott Blewett was designated for assignment to open a spot on the 40-man roster for Zebby. Blewett was outrighted, elected free agency, and then quickly re-signed a minor league contract, so he's back with the Saints. Louis Varland was called up for a start on Wednesday and then optioned back to the minors afterwards. Josh Winder sent down to make room for Varland initially, and then Ronnie Enriquez called up to replace him. Tough break or usage, I guess, for Varland, who has been on the major league roster for 2 days, I think, in the past 2 weeks and made 2 starts. You'd like to be able to stick around after making those starts and get a little more major league surface and salary, but the Twins understandably trying to maximize the amount of bullpen flexibility that they have at their disposal. Varland surely will be back pretty soon here. Finally, the Twins activated Steven Okert from the bereavement list on Monday, sending down Randy Dobnak to make room. Let's go to the highlights of a 5-2 week for the Twins. We usually Mention them near the end of the highlights section because the bullpen tends to be such an afterthought relative to the rotation and lineup. But this week, Yohan Duran and Griffin Jax deserve head billing. These two relievers really are near the top of the list in terms of reasons for believing in this team and its potential to make a legitimate run. Duran pitched on 3 straight days for the first time all season, and he handled it well, allowing one meaningless run over 3 innings while picking up 1-run saves on Thursday and Friday against the Rangers. He took the loss in Sunday's game, his 4th appearance of the week, but by no fault of his own. He entered in the 10th inning with the runner starting on second, got a strikeout, and then got a weak grounder to third, which should have been the second out of the inning. But a bad throw from Jose Miranda and a drop on the tag by Carlos Santana turned that into a game-losing defensive flub. For the week, Duran struck out 6 with no walks allowed in his 3 1/3 innings. He has an 18-2 strikeout to walk ratio over his past 14 appearances, and in the previous 14, that was at 12-5. So some noticeable improvement there. Even though Duran's velocity still has not gotten back to where it was in the past, and maybe it never will be. But he does look healthy, and he's still plenty effective in his current state. Griffin Jax pitched 4 times over the course of the week, each time facing the top or middle of the opposing lineup with the game tied or the Twins narrowly leading. So, the definition of high leverage usage. Each time he kept the opposition scoreless, and that's been a consistent story for Jax this month and really this year. But in August, the Twins are 7-1 in games where he has appeared, in no small part because of his contributions in those key late game spots. Jax and Duran were absolutely critical last October to Minnesota's first postseason advancement in almost 2 decades, and they will be crucial to any such aspirations this year. You just hope they're not going to wear down from overuse, which I think is the one note of caution about them for this past week. Duran pitched 4 times in 5 days, and Jax threw 3 times in that 4-game Rangers series. So leaning pretty heavily on these guys, and you hope they'll be able to relent a little bit. But, considering the lack of reliability elsewhere in the bullpen and a young rotation, as we'll soon discuss, the Twins are probably going to have little choice but to continue to lean on them hard. That Twins rotation, which is now relying on a pair of rookies alongside the established trio of Pablo Lopez, Bailey Ober, and Simeon Woods-Richardson, continues to get the job done despite the setbacks that they've experienced. Zebby Matthews was very impressive in his major league debut on Tuesday, tossing 5 innings of 2-run ball with 5 strikeouts and no walks. David Festa put up a very similar line in Texas on Saturday, 5 innings, 2 runs, 6 strikeouts, no walks. The control really is what's impressive to me. I know that's Zebby's calling card, but Festa has just been extremely impressive in his ability to throw strikes and pound the strike zone as a big leaguer, considering sort of the book on him in the minors being more erratic, sometimes losing his control of the strike zone. So if those two 24-year-old rookies can keep throwing the way they are right now, the Twins, I think, are going to be in fine shape. That's a darn good back of the rotation. Down 2 of their best bats, the Twins have needed help from wherever they can get it in the lineup. Veteran Carlos Santana is among those answering the call to the utmost, and he delivered in a big way once again this past week. Although he was only 4 for 22 in 7 games, 3 of those hits were home runs, and Carlos Santana made them count. The first was a solo shot against Kansas City to briefly draw the Twins within 1 run in the game that they lost on Wednesday. The second one, a decisive 3-run go-ahead homer in Friday's win over Texas. And then on Sunday, Santana hit a game-tying blast in the 9th inning to draw the Twins to a tie and push it to extra innings. Santana also drew 7 walks against 4 strikeouts while continuing to play mostly spectacular, game-changing defense at first, really continuing to solidify himself as one of the better free agent pickups this front office has ever made. Just a crucial contributor to this team, especially with some of the guys that they're missing. Some other noteworthy performances in a solid week for the Twins offense. Royce Lewis notched at least 1 hit in all 6 of his starts, 3 of which came at third base and the other 3 at DH, as he maintains a pretty even split between those 2 spots. Lewis doubled, homered, and drove in 3. Jose Miranda broke out of his post-break slump a bit with 2 doubles, a triple, and a homer among his 6 hits. Miranda's 3-hit burst on Monday helped to fuel a blowout victory over Kansas City to open the week. And Ryan Jeffers launched a pair of homers in Texas over the weekend. He drove in 3 runs on Sunday. That is his first multi-RBI game since July 4th. Finally, Kyle Farmer starting to hit the ball with some authority at long last, suggesting that maybe a little time on the sidelines to rest up his ailing shoulder did him some good. Farmer's 4 for 15 week included a home run and a triple, which turned into an inside the park homer. Took an awkward bounce off the wall at the Rangers Stadium and was mishandled by the center fielder. And Kyle Farmer huffing and puffing his way to home plate with that inside the Parker in a win. The lowlights from the past week for the Twins, with both Correa and Buxton sidelined and Alex Kirilloff seemingly just out of the picture, the Twins could really use the infusion that Edouard Julien's bat would bring to their lineup if he could even remotely approximate the player he was last year as a rookie. But it's still just not there. Julien struck out 5 times in his 7 plate appearances over the weekend, looking rough enough at the plate on Friday and Saturday that Rocco Baldelli opted for Farmer at second base against a right-hander on Sunday. Granted, a right-hander in Tyler Mahle, who I know Baldelli feels is a little stronger against lefties, but that's still pretty noteworthy to me. Coming into the season, second base looked like such a deep, formidable position on the Twins roster, but with Julien unable to find himself, Brooks Lee injured, and Willie Castro needed at shortstop in Correa's absence, the position's quality depth has really been decimated. They need second base to kind of step up and be more of an asset for them, and it's just not happening right now. Center field is another spot where the Twins are thinned out and feeling the impact. Here, too, Castro's ability to contribute is limited due to being regularly needed at shortstop, and that leaves the underwhelming duo of Manuel Margot and Austin Martin to split duties in center field. They're doing their best. It should be noted that the Twins were initially hesitant to use Margot in center field at all. He didn't make his first start there until a week into May. And Austin Martin is, of course, a rookie who primarily played infield while coming up through the minors. They've looked expectedly rough defensively, especially in contrast to Buxton's brilliance. And while the past week was a relatively good one for them at the plate, Martin and Margot combined for 10 hits and 35 at-bats for a decent .288 average. It was characteristic in that 9 of their 10 hits were singles, and the 2 of them together totaled just 1 walk. So no power and not getting themselves on base at the rate you need. While it was a very good week overall, the Twins unfortunately fumbled away a chance to make it a great one by blowing a 4-run lead in the 7th on Sunday, letting a series sweep in Texas slip away. Could have closed that deficit again, behind Cleveland in the Central down to 1, and frankly, they should have. Jorge Alcala came in and got absolutely clobbered in the 7th, surrendered 5 earned runs on 5 hits, including 2 homers, recorded only 2 outs, did not get out of the inning. Alcala's ERA, even after that disastrous outing, still sits at 3.09, which speaks to how effective he's been generally. But Rocco Baldelli's decision to use him in that spot still, I think, is worthy of scrutiny. Alcala's track record for durability, as we know, is precarious, and he'd thrown 27 pitches the previous day, as well as 20 on Thursday. Meanwhile, Trevor Richards was as fresh as could be, 4 days removed from his last appearance, which had come on Wednesday. Baldelli still did not trust him even with a 4-run lead in the 7th, turned to Richards only after the Twins were trailing and Alcala had blown the lead. So I think really that's just about as much of an indictment of the team's lone trade deadline acquisition as you could imagine. They're not confident using him in any kind of leverage. And really just a frustrating, it's hard to get that frustrated about taking 3 or 4 on the road, but this is why they needed to make some sort of impactful addition to the bullpen at the deadline. What's the point of having Trevor Richards on the team if you can't use him in that spot? Really disappointing. The trending storyline here as we flip the calendar to a new week, the Twins are 11-6 in August, and they have shaved 4.5 games off Cleveland's division lead this month. That they've been able to do that without Correa and largely without Buxton makes this feat feel all the more impressive. But there's no question that the Twins are going to need their best players back in order to maintain momentum and finish the job here with a challenging schedule still ahead. So in the coming week, I will be looking for positive signs on both fronts. Buxton, I believe, will be eligible to return from his 10-day IL stint when Friday's homestand opens up against the Cardinals. Will he be activated and back in the lineup? If not, the implications may be troubling. And what of Correa? Will he finally embark on a rehab assignment, signaling that his own return to the lineup is in sight? Or will this be another week of stagnating progress for the injured shortstop? Dan Hayes of The Athletic reported over the weekend that, according to head trainer Nick Paparesta, Correa needs to be comfortable running daily without feeling sore the next day, but has yet to reach that point. So we'll be keeping an eye on Buxton and Correa. The Twins could really use them back, but as mentioned earlier, can't really afford to push them back unless they're confident that they're past these injury issues. Looking ahead to the next week, as we always do to close out the show, a week of interleague competition lies in front of us, with the Twins heading now to San Diego for a 3-game set against the Padres before returning home to face the Cardinals. Following their matchup against Tyler Mahle on Sunday, the Twins have a couple more old friends on the docket in the coming week, as we'll see. So let's take a look at those pitching matchups. In San Diego, Twins are scheduled to throw Zebby Matthews for his second big league start on Monday. He'll be followed by Bailey Ober and Simeon Woods-Richardson. The Padres are planning to throw Michael King, lefty Martin Perez, the former Twin, and right-handed pitcher Matt Waldron in that series. Twins will get Thursday off, a much-needed break in the schedule before returning home to face the Cardinals. It'll be right-hander Andre Palante versus David Festa on Friday. And then a pretty fun matchup on Saturday is scheduled if everything sticks to plan. It'd be Sonny Gray versus Pablo Lopez, the Twins' Game 1 starter from last year's playoffs versus their Game 2 starter. And then on Sunday, Eric Fedde, St. Louis's deadline acquisition, scheduled to go against Zebby Matthews in what would be his second start of the week. So, like I said, a good week for the Twins, 5-2, gained some real ground on Cleveland. Tough to stomach the way it ended on Sunday because that was a big opportunity that slipped away from them. But we march on. They'll head to San Diego and then take on the Cardinals, and we'll continue to look to chip away and maybe overtake that division lead while keeping Kansas City at bay. It's a great 3-team race in the American League Central, and we can't wait to keep following it and sharing all the highlights, lowlights, and trending storylines with you here on the Week in Review podcast. So we thank you for joining. Please swing by twinsdaily.com. We're going to have plenty of great content on the site this week because the action is really just heating up now. And we'll be back next week with another recap. So thanks for joining, and we'll see you then.